That's it. 2024 season's in the book. Just finished up Saints, whatever that was, game. I don't know. Against the Buccaneers. We take the loss 27-19 after having a pretty exciting and good first half, although I think that was largely based on the Bucs not showing up in the first half, only to kind of pee down our legs in the second half and give it away in no uncertain terms. So I guess this is going to be more of a what do y'all want to talk about type show. And I don't even know how long we're going to go because I don't know how much talking anybody really wants to do because we all kind of saw this coming. I get it. But, I mean, it, there were no real surprises other than the fact that we jumped on them pretty much in the first half. Didn't see that coming. I thought we could hang with them a bit first quarter, but that they were going to turn it on. I think they just walked in sleepwalking, basically, kind of in that first half. And they didn't play all that much better in the second half, but they played better. They got the score tight, and then we started doing Saints type stuff. Stupid penalties, really stupid penalties, even though they had a couple also. All of a sudden, missing blocks, not making plays, missing tackles, yada yada. We've seen the song and dance before. So I mean, that's just kind of where everything's sitting at right now, I guess. Just real quick, we'll go through the game and not even go through the game, even though I have game notes. But one of the guys I thought played well when they did challenge him for the most part was Kool-Aid. He did give up a couple plays to Evans, but also made a couple, one in the end zone to break up, which surely would have been a touchdown pass. Early on, I thought Sewell and Orgy filling in at linebacker held their own in the first half. There was no glaring mistakes. And even in the second half, a lot of times when you see guys like that having to play that many snaps against a good offense, like Tampa, you'll see them pick on them. They didn't really pick on them. Unfortunately, the person they seemed to keep trying to pick on in the passing game was actually Demario Davis. And he got turned around horribly. Like I've never seen Demario turned around on the when we had him backed up, Baker scrambled out and second and long to make it third and manageable. Then he steps up and hits their, I think, third string tight end. He kind of flipped Demario around right in the middle of the field for a big gain and push it up past the 30 after we had him inside their 5. So I didn't see really Sewell or Orgy doing anything that glaring. I don't know how good it was, but it wasn't, as far as I noticed, nothing where you went, crap, that was a bad play. And then he gets a big sack in the second half, talking about Nephi Sewell. I think he kind of continued that. And, the knee injury last year was almost a year ago today when he suffered that devastating knee injury. It looks like he's back. So little, and I don't know what his contract status is, to be honest with you, but he would be a guy if he's still under contract going, we need somebody fairly athletic that can make plays out of that position because it's happening all over the defense. But linebackers is just surprising to see how far we've fallen off the athletic scale there. Foster Moreau, in case you didn't hear on the last 2 minute drive that he kind of drug himself off the field. Apparently it's pretty serious leg injury, or at least a leg injury. They thought it was serious because while all that was going on, he had to leave to the locker room via cart with an air cast on the leg. So just throw that one out there. I think really what everybody's going to want to talk about is Rattler. And once again, second week in a row, it's not only Rattler, the whole entire offense is a tale of two halves. Pretty good and efficient and giving you enough to take a lead and keeping the defense off the field and being exploited by the other team's offense, putting points on the board, you have a lead. Rattler was efficient again in the first half, 21-28 for 181 through a touchdown, no picks, no sacks. Second half, 5 of 11 for 59 yards. Took a couple of bad sacks that I can think of. Now, somebody threw this out here on Twitter towards the end of the game. I think it was Matthew Paris. But in all the first halves that Spencer Rattler played this year, his combined numbers, 67 of 96 for 751 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 6 sacks, passer rating of 103.3. In the second half of all games he's played this year, 60 of 125 for 533 yards, one touchdown, five interceptions, 16 sacks, 45.9 passer rating. I don't know what that tells me specifically about him, of other than obviously there's a big gap and divide between the numbers and a bit of a struggle in the second half. No, a lot of a struggle in the second half compared to his first. But I'm looking up and down the offense, linemen, receivers, running backs doing the same thing. And I don't know what the answer is before you ask me why that's happening. The only thing I can think of positive in that situation is apparently the offense has some type of camaraderie team building thing going on, that when some of them play well, they decide to all play well. And then when some of them start playing like shit, they all go to shit. That's the only thing I can come up with. So if it's a esprit de corps, that would be a positive, but I seriously doubt it. So I don't know if that's coming from halftime adjustments, which would be my guess, but I don't know that for sure, which is kind of a knock on Kubiak, or if you're just so limited with the injuries and everything else that's been going on, you just don't have enough guys to know the complete offense. So in the first half, they have scripted plays, everything goes well, but after you're done with that, now you're kind of bottom of the barrel of what we're going to call in the playbook. What did they work on this week? What can we do? Some combination thereof. Is it just some guys? They're good spot players. So if they were coming in as reserves and having to take some time, a half a game or something, you'd be fine. But when you stick them out there for 4 quarters, sooner or later they get exposed. Your guess is as good as mine on all this, but I don't know what the answer is. But not only in Rattler's play, but in the overall team play, definitely 2 weeks in a row we've seen that, and we've seen very few games this year when, and goes for both sides of the ball, where you have one side of the ball show up and decide they want to play 4 quarters. My last note is if you want to give a play of the game, I guess you got to give it to Blake Groupie, 4-4. I think he's had a really good year this year overall. Just doesn't go unnoticed when you're on a 5-12 team that underachieved um, so far under everybody's expectations, especially the front office and the coaching staff with all the stuff they were throwing out preseason. So as far as the game goes, that's kind of all I have on it. I'm sure I haven't checked Twitter. I don't even know if any coaches have gotten fired from the 12 o'clock game, but I think that's going to be pretty much a topic of conversation coming up, is our coaching search, and some really weird, not good news coming in, like considering supposedly Matt Nagy. Honestly, if they're even thinking about hiring Matt Nagy, just keep Rizzy and cut the bullshit, right? No. Gruden's name's been kicked around. I know other names will likely be coming. And real quick, as far as I know, New Orleans, Chicago, and the Jets are all be looking for head coaches. Obviously, those were the three jobs that were open going into today. Um, Las Vegas Raiders and Antonio Pierce is probably shaky. I would guess he's going. Dallas Cowboys and Mike McCarthy. Sounds like they might be moving on from Big Mike. Cleveland Browns, Stefanski was on the hot seat, but they fired offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey and Andy Dickerson, offensive line coach. You feel like it's the scapegoat thing, so he might be safe. That job might be not be opening up. Taylor was on shaky ground in Cincinnati, had a big push at the end of the season. Still think Denver, they were up 21-0 last I looked. Still think Denver's going to take that last spot and knock him out. So he may be safe. If he'd have made the playoffs, I think he'd have been a lot safer, but I can't see them firing him, but they could. And then Giants, Jacksonville, and New England, Dayball, Peterson, and Mayo. I cannot see them still being the head coaches come Tuesday morning. So I think Black Monday is going to open up a lot of spots. And I think that's important. You've got some very good head coaches out there, and so there's a market for them to sit back and go, I'm interested in that job, and that job, but not that job. And unfortunately, I think when they're pointing in that direction to that job, the Saints is in that number. So, wow, y'all have been busy. And to start off, very sorry that I had to bump this up about 4 hours, but the bad weather was supposed to come in later at night, far later than we were planning on doing the show, but weather reports this morning said that might be sooner. And weather like that comes through here, typically I'll be without power for a couple hours. So just to be safe, that's why we bumped it up. So thank you all for joining earlier than planned. Um, actually, no. Drop. Do me a favor. Put a link, and I don't think you can get to the comments right now because we're live. But if you think about it, um, give me a link to the comment in the comments. I can check it out at some point. Probably not tonight, but maybe during the week. Um, yeah, Northern. I know you like to front load questions before we go in. So yeah, I just kind of went through that the possible head coaching jobs. Um, the numbers, the three obvious: Vegas, Cowboys, Giants, Jacksonville, New England. 5 plus the 3, 8. I think 8 would probably be the over and under. 7.5 would be the over under, and I think you might want to take the over on that because, like I said, I think Stefanski's safe. Taylor might be, don't know, but the rest of them, I think they're on some very shaky ground. If not already, I don't know. Right now, they some of those guys that played at 12 could be headed out the door. Who knows? It was a game of two halves, Northern. Just like last week, in a couple of other games we played during the year where um, either we looked like we had a shot, sort of like the Bucs game today and the Raiders game last week, where we had a shot and then just blew it. Other games, it looks like when we were deep trouble and we were able to come back. Not Raiders, sorry. Commanders. Looked like we were going to get a playoff team was going to come in and blow us completely out the dome. We gave ourselves a chance on the very last play of the game to beat them. Tale of two halves. So we need to quit doing that. I'd like to play one full game instead of suck half a game, be pretty good half a game, which is kind of what we've been doing lately. Everybody's running wild in our defense right now. That's kind of why we're uh, basically dead last in total defense in the league. You know, I don't know if that's the official number, but we're in the bottom five in points given up, rushing yards given up, passing yards given up. Oh my God, third down conversion. Tampa Bay, when they weren't playing well, we're at 50% in the first half on third down conversions. I don't know what they finished at. I don't want to know. It's not a pretty number. We have a defense that needs to be completely retooled. They ain't gonna stop nobody anytime soon. That Adrian O'Connell and Amir Abdullah lit us up like Christmas trees last Sunday. I'm amazed Tampa Bay didn't do more than what they did to us today. And had they probably shown up and they played a full game, it'd have been a lot worse. Um, no, Howden, there's no playmakers on that defense at all. Tell me who's a playmaker. Now, I like Kool-Aid's potential. Um, I like Brazil's pass rush. Notice I said pass rush. After those two younger players, you're starting to look through guys and going, Taylor, I love on the inside. He was phenomenal when he was playing in the slot corner. He gets picked on and exposed on the outside. They need to quit moving him around. I know some people have suggested either keeping him on the inside at slot corner, which today I was kind of hoping at some point they would do that with him and let John Charles and Rico Payton handle the outside opposite of McKinstry. I did see John Charles in the game. I think it was Tampa Bay's last drive, I believe. Not the bullshit one with the 5 yards to Evans, the prior drive. I thought I saw him out there for a couple of snaps. I think he made a tackle. I'm pretty sure it was him. But the point being is, I like seeing what Taylor's going to do on the inside. And some people have even pointed out they think he'd make a pretty good safety. And I kind of look at him and I keep thinking of CD Deuce, who was a very good slot corner for us. And then he has played safety, and when he's been healthy in the NFL as a safety, he's been a pretty good one for a lot of teams, just not ours. Baba Rizzi, yeah, I think that was the die was cast on that already. But like I said, if it comes down to Rizzi and Matt and Nagy, give me Rizzi. But yeah, actually, we need to move on. Penalties, home cooking. That was. I think you had some horrible officials that didn't know what the hell they were doing out there. It was like Twilight Zone. But the three that got me is you've got three dumb fouls. Honey Badger on the unnecessary roughness, which I get it. I would not have liked to seen that flag thrown, but as um I can't think of his name, the Dean Blandino, whatever his name is, but the ex referee got even admitted going technically by the rules it's a penalty, but yeah, you didn't really think it was the uh the unnecessary roughness 15-yard penalty type. But even to put yourself in that position, Honey Badger kind of going, go low, man. Um, but Moreau's penalty, Shepard's penalty, those two were just backbreaking killers, and they should know better. And it's frustrating to see your veterans do that kind of stuff. Um, yeah, it's uh, we played like poo poo. So the officials would have had to been home cooking for us to even have a shot of winning that game. So I don't point at them anyway. We had plenty of opportunities to leave it out of their hands, even if what you're saying is right. We didn't do it. That's why we're a bad football team, a fundamentally unsound football team. Yeah, told you it's a bad penalty on roster, and you keep saying no one's safe, but I'm sorry, money dictates some people are going to be, and they know it. Yeah, you're still pumping in stuff, I guess, during the game, but yeah, as of right now, the Saints have the ninth pick, and waiting for the 3 o'clock games to finish to see how they turn out. But um, I didn't see the breakdown. I know somebody did it. I didn't watch it, but I'm assuming we can finish no higher than ninth, no better than ninth, no worse than 10th. I think we're kind of in that range. If they go up on season tickets again right now, they can bet on there's going to be more visiting fans visiting the dome in Saints home games. That would be the ultimate arrogance if they decided to do that. And they have to be smarter than that. Yep. Thank you. Guaranteed money and uh, prorated salary bonuses, prorated signing bonuses that kind of allow that stuff to happen. Mayo is out. Is that official or your opinion? Because it wouldn't shock me if they fired him an hour after the game ended, after or even before the press conference. I think that one. It just feels like that one. If it hadn't happened already, it's coming. No, I would not. I said it at the time. What I'd have done is told my defensive line, just keep jumping off sides before they snap the ball and tapping the offensive lineman till you draw enough penalties that it's inside the 5, and then give them the finger and go, okay, run your play. You know, look, I get it. You had the bonus tight end, blah, 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 and all that, but and maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure instead of actually running that play and having him go get his 5 yards, the team could probably agree and go, you know what, you were close enough. We'll give you your incentive bonuses anyway. But the way the NFLPA in the league are, I couldn't say that's for a fact. They may actually be a rule that you can't do that. I don't know, but to me, that would be the easiest way to solve that problem is just go, yeah, you'd have gotten it. If we run one more play, you'd have gotten it. Here's your money. Because I don't begrudge anybody trying to get their money. That's what he was doing. But yeah, it just leaves you a bad taste in your mouth. Yes, Kofi. Oh, thank you. I think it's first time you've ever popped up, so welcome. Um, and if you have before and I've forgotten, my apologies. Um, it's the love channel thing. The biggest things the Saints need to draft both sides of the line need to get better. Yeah, specifically, um, oh Lord, the interior. I mean, this is the crazy. And I was thinking about this right after the game, and I'm glad you brought it up but so far, projecting positions in the draft, defensive interior, defensive tackles, there is a ton of good players coming. And right off the top of my head, there's two guys in Michigan, and if you watch them, I was telling brother-in-law this after that game. Kind of the grading wise right now, if you look at interior offensive linemen, one of the best is Alabama's left guard. He was playing against those, and one of them, I believe his name is Graham, could be a top 10 pick. And if he's around when we're drafting, he's a Jalen Carter type dude. Okay. He's a Vita Vea type dude. He's there, but the other guy that played next to him, they physically destroyed that guard from Alabama for 4 quarters. I mean, that's the difference between the high end D interior lineman and the interior offensive lineman, at least right now on paper. But that was an illustrative example. So you're seeing two in Michigan. You get the big guy in Georgia. Ohio State had two. Texas has two of these big interior, just athletic guys that you ain't moving them. And picture what Vita Vea was doing today. That's what they're projected to do. So the offshoot of fixing that line is our biggest problem is the interior offensive line. I don't know if you're going to draft them, and we're so money strapped. I don't know if you can go find one if there's a good one in free agency. I don't know. I don't really know how we're going to solve that problem, but it is a problem. Think we're okay on the edges. I think we could be better, but I think we're at least serviceable there right now. But yeah, up along that area need improvement, but the defensive line is going to get absolutely scary because we just get pushed around too much in the interior. And again, I don't know free agency if you can go get anybody that's going to improve that. I mean, when you're talking about Saunders and Shepard, they were our two big free agent signings a couple of years ago to solve that problem. And I like Bank Saunders. I really, really do. But I like some of the things he can do. But when push comes to shove, no pun intended, our interior just gets bullied in the middle. We need some big meat in there. I was hoping Boyd would be it. I was hoping Boyd would play today. They had him as a healthy scratch. See what he could do in there against that Tampa Bay interior. What makes our defensive line even worse, that's a good shot. I don't see any way you're going to re-sign Chase Young because I thought all along somebody somewhere is just going to want to give him big money, and we can't do it. And he's going to leave. Cam, speaking last week, sounded like he's not interested in anything but his $12 million that he's due next year. And because he said something like even, comments about his family and basically, throwing it out there. It's like, I plan on playing next year and I'm playing somewhere that's going to pay me. So I'm not taking a pay cut. You're probably going to lose him. Peyton Turner is a free agent. Pascal is just a dead money guy. He's got, I think, a 3-year contract with nothing but dead money on it. We don't owe him a cent. So in essence, he's a free agent. We're getting hit with dead money when he leaves. Foskey, Granderson, and I'm okay with Granderson, but he can't do it by himself. So when you start looking at not only they didn't play well this year, at times they could, but overall for 17 games, they didn't play well. And it's okay. We're going to be losing some of them, a good chunk of them. They got to figure out how to replace it. I think the draft is one thing that they seriously got to look at. But before we do that, we need to address, as Northern said in one of his posts on the last video, the scouting and drafting department. I couldn't agree more because one of the things that has gotten us in the problem we have is they've been terrible for the most part at drafting defensive linemen that we know we've been needing, and we've just never improved it. Oh, first, well, thank you for being here, Kofi. Northern, we're in trouble anyway. Okay, Northern. This is my best advice I can give you now that 2024 season is over. No matter what we do, no matter what we try to do, who we keep, who we don't keep, who we pay, who we don't pay, who we draft, who we don't draft, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Wrap your head around this reality. We're going to suck in 2025. We're going to be a bad football team. And other than magic pixie dust or the luck of the Irish, which the Saints have been so unlucky that I don't think that's going to happen, either one of those two things. The best thing you can do right now is just embrace the suck. What you're trying to do is not have to embrace the suck in 2026 and 2027. That's what I'm looking at. So, again, no pun intended, just suck it up in 2025. We're going to get our asses beat up and down a lot of football fields. There's just no getting around that. Be ready to be relevant and try to be relevant in 2026. Be really good in 2027. The 3-year deal that Detroit did and looks like they pulled off. Arizona, they were in a hole for a while. They were at least threatening the playoffs this year. I don't know if they have a legitimate turnaround or not, but that kind of 3-year model, they're going to find out next year because it's going to more or less be the 3rd year, I believe. Is it possible? Yeah. But we didn't plan for this happening at the end of last year by any stretch because we thought we were going to make the Super Bowl, right? Or win a division, being a playoff team. This reality never entered our head. Mistake we made is when we got to the trade deadline, we did a good job moving Marshall and Lattimore, and that solved a lot of problems. Thank God, because our cap issue would be worse if he'd still be on the team. But you should have kept going. You should have moved some more contracts if you could have moved them and create a situation where maybe we don't have to shave as much off. We can move on from players because we need to get better players, not because the contract is right and we've got to move money around, which means some of these guys got to go, and some of the guys that we want to go might have to stick around another year. We just can't afford to cut them. Embrace the suck; it's coming. But if they would dedicate themselves to resetting the cap in 2025, you start looking at numbers of some of the guys that they can move on from. Not only are you going to be picking high again, and hopefully, again, you solve your scouting drafting issues you got going in the front office, you'll be picking top 10 again with a pile of money in that 2026 offseason to go. Now let's go get some guys and do a better job of going sign the guys that you're going to give big money to out of that to come in and make your football team better, along with the rookies you drafted in 2025 and you're going to draft in 2026. But if you think we're winning anything next year, look, good luck. At the moment, it's hard. I think we've got Lord. You think there's some hidden gems in there, but I don't know how you find them at this point. I don't know how you develop them. Um, I will give this credit to Mike, watching Mike Triplett and Nick Underhill. I think it was last week, where somebody asked them the question: is it bad scouting and drafting, or is it bad coaching, developing players? And I'm pretty sure it's Mike Triplett said probably a combination of both. I'm going, yeah, probably. In some cases, your drafting was so bad, or your free agent signing was so bad, no amount of coaching development in the world was going to save you with that one. Or you had a viable player that maybe could have helped you. Kind of Trevor Penning comes to mind a little bit, but I don't think they tried to teach him anything about playing left tackle in the NFL and just kind of threw him out there and watched him get abused by, you know, or did they try to develop him? Those are the questions we really can't answer, but there has to be some type of meshing of that, right? And I don't think there is. So it's really hard. Do you have here we go, let's have these conversations. Do you have a Zach Bond sitting on your roster right now and you just don't know it? And he's going to end up walking out the door and showing up somewhere and leading the NFL in tackles while grabbing sacks and interceptions and forcing turnovers and just being a stud after wasting away on our bench for years? Who made a decision to draft him? Somebody somewhere must have saw that. But was he just not developed and coached properly? It's a good chance, wrong scheme. But then why are you drafting him? Because he's just going to waste away on your bench until somebody signs him like Philly and unleashes him, for lack of a better word. So I got to feel like just law of probability. You've got to have a few more of those players in on your roster that kind of fit that category. I don't necessarily know who they are, and I question whether or not. And part of the problem is the people running the show and the coaches you're going to bring in, if they can recognize that, they need to, they have to, because that's one of the ways. Getting back to Northern's point about not being good next year, if you've got 5 or 6 of those that you don't realize, and you do get a good coach in, and wait a minute, you got players here, you just didn't have people teaching them how to play and develop them. So my hope is they're there, and then whoever we bring in a coach will find them. But I tell you what, I ain't gonna hold my breath. Yeah, I felt the Panthers had a quarterback all along. Um, I was in the completely vocal yet minority that nobody people would look at me like I had a third eye in the middle of my head when I kept saying was Carolina set them up to failure. They did everything possibly wrong they could do to hand over the reins to a starting rookie quarterback, and they would have been better off not playing him. Well, probably eventually playing him last year at some point, but not starting him off right off the bat and going, "Here you go, rookie. Here's the ball. Go help us win." Because that's in essence that's what the organization did. It's lucky they didn't run him for life. You go ahead and get some competent coaching in and go, "Okay, we're going to straighten him out and make him work and find the talent that we know he has." Um, that's just a big part of it. You got to have the plan, but it's you know, I mean, you think about Carolina, their offensive line was not good. They traded away their most talented receiver to draft him. They didn't replace anything, and their defense wasn't that great. So you were in a shootout constantly. Just can't put rookies in that position at all and expect them to contrast. CJ Stroud last year and especially Jay Daniels this year, but also Bo Nix this year. And it's looking like Michael Penix this year. Were all put into situations whether they were starters from day one, they had to earn their job, or they came in late. But all the organizations were thinking about, look, it's not about this year and making the playoffs. It's lovely if it happens. Great, fantastic. And that'll help develop that quarterback more. Because now, they're in a playoff chase. And in the case of it looks like Knicks, if Denver's still winning up 3 scores, in case of Daniels, they get to go to the playoffs. That's all great experience for these young guys that you can keep building on. But you just can't throw them to the wolves like a lot of teams do, like Cleveland did to Baker Mayfield. And think about that. He has a cup of coffee with Sean McVay and the Rams, shows up on a Monday night game, plays very, very well, winds up in Tampa Bay at the beginning of last year for next to nothing. They paid him almost nothing to win a division and put them in the playoffs and win a playoff game. Did 4 weeks with McVay make him a better quarterback, or was it always there and it just enough of it got unlocked and then he got better coaching in Tampa last year and again this year, where you really saw it, which tells you, and I know this is hard to believe about Cleveland, but basically Cleveland drafted him and screwed him up or never gave him a chance. So DA, yeah, I'm. It's hard. Um, and in a way, I'm glad the weather forecast got bad enough where I was worried about not having power to do the show at normal time because I didn't have time to overthink this. A lot of times, that's what I like last week from the Raiders. I kind of have some thoughts about, and then later on it changes. But now it's like I kind of came in because there wasn't a lot of time for me to prep the show. Just kind of came in going kind of with that. I don't know what I think anymore about this team, but let's just dive in there and find something. It's hard, and there's a lot of work to do. We know that, but one thing that's hopeful is hopefully a lot of the players who will be back with Rizzy so far got it more of an exposure of what needs to be done and how you need to do it. Try to get some of that. We keep using the culture word, but it's true. Try to get some of that culture back and going in the positive, right direction. That's going to help you win. And a chance some of these young guys, second, third year players, guys that were rookies this year, might might very well have to take some veteran leadership roles next year with what's going to be coming in. So I don't know if if we know that for sure, if that's enough hope, but that's kind of the best I can do right now. Um, yeah, well, that's kind of how we got Groupie in the first place because we couldn't afford Lutz's. I think he was like 4 million, Saint, and then last year we're all bitching about how we shouldn't have let that happen. And it's a crapshoot either way, but the mere fact I'm glad you put that up there for everybody to read. You know, Groupie's got to go. Can't afford him at $1 million. There's not a more damning comment on how bad Mickey Loomis screwed this shit up that you can't afford a guy making $1 million because more or less that's veteran minimum or just off of it. So to save money on a guy that's $1 million, and we've got a few of them that are either right at a million or right under, you're going the UFDA route or UDFA route rather. So I can't disagree with you if you know Charlie Smith maybe is going to be cheaper for sure. He comes in and yeah, he might be the kicker. It's up and down the roster. We might be. I mean, there's guys whose salary next year is going to be 960K that you can cut out of savings and bring in. And now I'm not talking about the undrafted free agents right after the draft because most of those guys that are worth a crap, they're getting bonuses, and you're not going to be able to afford to do that. I'm talking about loading up on undrafted free agents probably after June 2nd when our two designated June 2nd guys get cut and open up some money. Yeah, down there, I'm sure, you know, funky numbers when you sign guys about when game checks get guaranteed. There's all kind of rules there, but yeah, you probably start dropping at a million and less than a million guys, signing those guys to play. Hence, embrace the suck because there's a good possibility a lot of that's going to happen. Yeah, officially, not surprising at all, and really not surprising. It happened today, kind of to jump it. And I'm wondering if it's not a done deal, that's where Vrabel's going to wind up. Just off the top of my head, as a possibility, but we'll see. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure based on your where you were at your other questions, that had to be either the game was going on or right after. So if it is official, yeah, you did kind of call that one. Um, no, it ain't going to be Belichick. He's got a job with the University of North Carolina. Um, I don't know if I'd hold that up as a criteria, but whether it's any of those guys, y- y- you got to you got to fix culture because you're just not going to have enough good things and talent happening. I can't see how in 2025. The only way that can happen is if we just delude ourselves in the front office and ownership, going, "Oh, look how close and all the injuries." If we get healthy, we're just one or two players away, and start the old bump up the money and a signing bonus prorated out, kick the can down the road, and keep creating that salary cap mess, keep bringing the same guys back, keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. All I need again, fix the culture. And I need a guy that knows how to build within the organization and not just the culture. Because there's so many things that have gone wrong sideways. My problem is he can only fix so much as a coach. So regardless, you can bring in whoever you want, Northern. You can throw a name out there. I'm not going to disagree with you. Is the absolute best coach, American football coach in the world right now. Hire him to do this job. And if they don't fix the roster, they don't fix the salary cap, and by God, fix all their problems in the front office, he's not winning more than 4 or 5 games we're going to have on the field next year. I'm going to make a shirt. Embrace the suck, because that's what's coming. All right. Who doesn't, right? Yeah, but that song and dance has been going on. That predates even Dennis Allen if you stop and think about it. But it's these last couple of years, it was on a rampage. I thought for a while that had gotten cleaned up, but today was just a and dumb penalties at a dumb time. Like Moreau's dumbness. You just getting down there 2nd and 4. You've been struggling in the second half. You're way ahead of the chains. Throw the football, let somebody draw 15 so we can make it 2nd and 19. Leads directly to a sack. Now we're punting. It's just ridiculous. That's the one that just drove me nuts. Because of all people, he should know better. And I think he's a team leader, but it appears to affect everyone. That at some point they just lose their mind and do something dumb and draw a penalty for it. And it's got to stop. He'd have been a guy I would have said, um, if you need some leadership, who do you walk up to and say, look, if you take a pay cut, I think his cap savings right now is right around 2 million. If you take a pay cut where we get that 2 million plus savings, and you get to stay on the roster, but that frustrated me so much. I'd be like, no, he take your whatever his 2+ million, whatever savings is, and say thank you, Foster, for the last 2 years, but you got to go. Not a favorable one at all. Pretty poor, in fact, right now. And I don't know if you could argue, supposedly, Mickey should be smart enough to figure this out. What everybody seems to know but him, that you're not going to band-aid this thing like you kept trying to do the last couple of years. It's at some point you got to take your medicine. And if he knows it, and if he's smart enough to know it, and you would think he would be all the years in the league, then you're thinking, well, he's doing it on purpose because he's an arrogant SOB. So that's kind of my opinion on him either way. It's like, why are we going through this song and dance again? Why are you thinking about going through this song and dance? Why are we talking about hiring coaches that you're comfortable with? How about you hire the coach that is the best guy to do the job, regardless if you know him or you're comfortable with him or whatever? Or does comfortable mean, and this has been thrown out in recent days about some of the names they brought up, like Aaron Glenn, like John Gruden, who's always around the facility. I don't know where the Nagy name came out of the blue, but maybe he and Mickey have some relationship going back somewhere. I don't really know. But is this watching Ross Jackson's podcast last night, and he's bringing up the point we should negotiate. Was like, well, I want you to keep Derek Carr and Clint Kubiak, and whoever you hire and head coach is going to negotiate. Well, no, I want to bring in my offensive coordinator. This guy I like better. And I get that the organization they turned over their whole entire offensive coaching staff last year. They turned over their whole entire defensive staff the year before. I can see ownership and a lot of people up there going, we got to quit doing this. I'm not sure about the defensive side of the ball, but I know you have some really good position coaches on the offensive side of the ball that you could hopefully want to keep. But if Ross is right, and you're getting a negotiation on this is about staff and players that the new coach came in may want to make changes on, then what are we doing? Just make yourself the head coach at that point. But hey, the two takeaways I got from watching Ross last night was, one, yeah, there's that give and take, and I'm like, okay, I can't dispute it. Maybe he's right. I don't know, but I wouldn't necessarily like it if that's who you're hiring. And the other thing is the old adage: a GM gets to hire two coaches, and their thinking is, well, he hired Dennis Allen, that didn't work out, so he gets a second one. And I'm like, if everything else was going okay, if we didn't have the cap issues, if we were drafting better, if we were acquiring better free agent talent, if we were actually as close to winning as he says we are, that our own eyes, we can look and say, no, Mickey, we're not even close, then I'd agree with that. But when none of that's working, And then you're going to go, well, go ahead and hire the head coach. Why keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result? Ultimately, it's all on him. He's the top guy in the organization as far as football decisions, so he can't hide from it. Tell you what, if he does whatever he's going to do, and we come back out 14-3 next season, win a division, first round bye in the playoffs, I'm gonna have to come on here and eat a lot of crow. And I will gladly do it if that happens. I will sing and dance it about the virtue of Mickey Loomis. And I'm confidently saying right now that neither one of those two things are going to happen. So my opinion of Mickey not high right now. Yeah. Um, I had a buddy of mine call immediately right after that talking about it, and he was bent, and I was kind of like just the way that game played out. I guess I was kind of numb to the shit happening right at the end, so I didn't. He kind of got me worked up a little bit. But originally when everybody knew that was coming, that's what I said. I'm just thinking, just keep creating penalties till you let them get all the way down to inside the 5. But um, it was kind of ho hum about it. I did see on Twitter right before I came on something Scott Shanley posted about, and I don't want to misquote him, but basically paraphrasing, this stuff wouldn't have happened back when he was playing, which kind of agree. Back in that era, yeah, that wouldn't have happened. There'd have been some crap going down right then and there. So, and to be honest with you, I don't even know if anybody would have tried it, but back in those days, but there'd have likely been consequences had they. Yeah, but I mean, they're not out there working for free, but and somebody else did post in Twitter. Well, I mean, if you don't want that to happen, go out and stop it. And that's kind of where, like, my buddy and I were talking about, where we were kind of talking about it was going. It almost felt like we let it happen, which maybe they don't begrudge anybody money, and I think that's kind of Shanley's point a little bit. I mean, but look, even if he gets it, shake his hand and all, but make him work for it. The only thing I can remember this egregious, uh, in a very similar situation, is when, and I don't remember, maybe Michael Strahan needed a sack against Green Bay late in the year for something, and Florida just kind of flopped almost after taking the snap so Strahan can run up and touch him. So akin to that. And back in those days, they got a lot of heat from that. And now this kind of thing apparently happens a lot and nobody. So I guess just different era, different times. Everybody reacts differently on the whole thing. Okay, that was still alive. I wasn't sure because I know Chicago winning. Um, Vegas was still in the mix. It comes down to the stupid strength of schedule thing. And now with basically less than half the league only having one game left, I guess they can kind of figure out where it is exactly. But higher the better, man. I mean, ideally, we'll get our drafting issues figured out, and we'll get back to drafting high level talent when you have high draft picks like that, and that will help ease the pain and get us out of this and get us headed back in the right direction. We just can't screw it up. Um, yeah. Okay, you doubled up on the Loomis question. Yeah, basically, when it comes to him, I'll believe it when I see it. That's kind of where I put him right now. That's like I can't believe him. He's kind of flat out lied to us the last couple of years, and been a little, and that's where I get personal with, and he's been a little gum chewing, arrogant ass about it. On top of that, so um, I guess it's possible. At one point, supposedly he knew what he was doing, and I guess he did because we used to be a very strong and good organization. We're just not anymore. So I need to see it to believe it. Have not seen it. We're keep going in the wrong direction over the last few seasons. Yeah. Is he more of a solution or a problem? I think right now that you're in the dire situation where If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And that probably goes for everyone in the building. He's no. I like Saunders. Like if you follow him on Twitter and like he's a guy I think I could hang out with an awful lot and just cool dude. And we'll have a lot of fun. As far as a football player, what I like about him is he is athletic for as big as he is. He plays the, I think, piano pretty well, as they call it, a defensive lineman who can kind of go side to side and not get caught up in blockers. Um, I don't know about his pass rush, but at times it's flashed a little bit where he's gotten some pressure and you know he's had a couple sacks this season. But none of that helps you if you can just run right at him all game long, run up, and that's where it's he that's where I think he hurts you. And you have to rebuild that interior. You've got to get some guys that are going to hold their ground, not get pushed around. It'll help you edge rushers. It'll help Brzee, but he still has to get better on his run defense. And I think the only way Sanders helps you, or Saunders helps you, but you can't keep him because he's too much money. And we're back to that. We got to let veterans go that save us money, and he's one of them, somewhere around 2 million. Um, you can't keep him around as sort of the depth piece for Brzee because I think they're very similar. I think Brzee is just a better version because Brzee is a good sideline to sideline guy and athletic and very good pass rusher, but just not a good run defender. And you, you, we got to get some good run defenders in the middle. I'd 5/12. I don't know. That might be higher. It could be. I'd have to jog to look at a roster and really break down the numbers, but it could be as high as 50%. Um, again, it's a combination of you got some guys, I think, that you give starters money to that are starting. That would be pretty good depth pieces. Big Saunders kind of comes to mind. If you're not paying him too much and you realize he's going to get a small percentage of the snaps, probably on third down when Brzee needs a break, or in dire circumstances if we've got some guys hurt and he's got to go suck up snaps. But he's basically at times been a starter for us, and he's not that. And Shepard too, for that matter. And as I said, we brought him in a couple of years ago, supposedly. Hey, we found these guys that are just they're buried in their depth charts wherever they came from, whatever they were selling, but they were kind of part-time players, and that's kind of what they are. And there's nothing wrong with that. They're still in the NFL making good money. But when you try to project those guys as the guys that are going to take a lot of snaps, make a lot of plays, and make everybody around them better, and it doesn't happen. And we have too many of those guys. Um, yeah, but the right head coach needs to want to come here, and you got to give him reasons to do it. If I was a hot shot coach right now, especially with this many jobs opening up, I find it hard to believe I would have. If it's 8 jobs, I'd find it hard to believe I'd have less than 4 in front of the New Orleans job. Uh, they didn't really pick early until they traded for the. I mean, they kind of did, I guess, but again, front office failures. But they got their guy Bryce Young. If they start correcting the morons in the front office who were drafted incorrectly, hiring dumbass head coaches, and doing all the other stuff that they were doing that put them in the situation where they sucked, sort of like we've been doing. Yes, you can turn your team around. Um, again, once you get into definitely the Senior Bowl, East West Shrine Game, all that kind of stuff, when you get more, the NFL starts getting direct exposure to the players that are entering. Then, of course, the combine, the silly season, the pro days, and all that stuff. Because right now, all they're really working off is film and probably some metrics, but I don't know how many. Specifically, interviewing, because players nowadays, the game on both sides of the ball has gotten to be more, I don't want to say complicated, but more involved. You have to know more to be able to see the field. And if you don't, you see the field situationally, I guess, and they're going to use you that way. And if it's a really good coaching staff, they can use you situationally and you'll be fine. Because I'm saying all that to say this. There used to be a term you used to hear a lot, an awful lot, come around draft time, and you're starting to hear it less and less. And if I had the time to watch the whole draft, I might count how many times the words NFL ready is said, because they're saying it less and less. In the NFL, I know there's been some people involved who's acknowledged that, quite frankly, most colleges are really, really good with really, really good football players, but they're not. At one point, maybe it was kind of a development for the NFL thing. Not anymore in this day and age. It's about money, as somebody pointed out earlier. How much money are you going to make, and the probability that that kid's such a good football player, he actually needs to sit and develop for a period of time. Can't do it because somebody else is going to pay him more money. He's going to jump a transfer portal and he's gone. So we still have to get him on the field anyway, even though he's not ready. Trial by fire. He's going to have to figure it out. I see a lot of that going on in the NFL now too. So once all that kind of comes in, and what we would looking at that point is, well, who's NFL ready? 7, 8, 9, 10. You feel like there should be at least one guy there, right? Start getting the second round, maybe. Well, that's where your drafting guys and your scouting guys are going to have to come in. If not, then you got to start talking about, well, player development. I think potentially that's what this draft is, and I think um, some positions are deep in areas where they're probably not NFL ready, but they may be NFL situationally ready. When you're looking at day two, I don't know about day three. I think it gets real thin after probably the fourth round from what everybody's saying. But the positions that may actually generate are interior, and talking about days 2 and 3, sorry, rounds 2 and 3, possibly in the 4, depending how it goes. But interior defensive lineman, there'll be some situational edge rushers still floating around. Come that, God knows we can use that. Somebody just pins his ears back and go gets a quarterback. Um, Wide receivers, the colleges right now, that's the one position that they can just keep pumping guys out. And you can Amon Ross St. Brown, a guy, Puka Nakua, McMillan, the guy today he's a third round guy. Running backs too, the same thing. Bucky Irvin today was a fourth round guy last year. They're buried in there. Um, Last year we didn't have any real picks in those rounds. There's not a whole lot we could do about it. This year we do. Again, scouting and realizing we're going to probably have to develop some of these guys to get them where we need them to be. Hell, Bucky Irvin and Jeremy McMillan are two examples because neither one of them played a whole lot at the beginning of the year. You saw today, that's their number one running back and their number two wide receiver. And they're both really, really good. But if you're expecting, anyone's expecting to have a whole bunch of guys show up and help us in 2025 win games, again, my new motto, embrace the suck, because it ain't going to happen. I think that's a possibility. And I will say this is one thought. There's another place that it looks like, to use the phrase from just now, NFL ready, at that area in the draft. There seems to be a metric crap ton of left tackles that they think fit that bill. If there's a chance, and I do remember when Penning came out, there was a lot of write up about him being a a project at tackle, but likely an NFL interior lineman. And I know some people have disagreed with that, and we don't know. Nobody with the Saints. I don't even know if they've ever thought of putting him in guard. But where you get Campbell or Banks or one of those Ursary. I can't think. There's about 4 or 5 of them all kind of floating around in there, sort of like they was last year. Um, at left tackle, I look at this going, Fawag, I think has been pretty good of asking as a rookie to make the changeover on a team that wasn't very, very good. Um, but I still don't know if that's the guy that's going to be our left tackle of the future, or if you grab one of these guys that will be and put him at left tackle, move Fuaga back at right tackle, and go, okay, he's yeah, a second year guy and a rookie trying to lock down our two edges on the offensive line, and Penning could make the move to guard and help you there. Are you on to something? And I would take even that, as bad as our defensive line is going to be or likely to be. I I would take fixing the two tackle spots and possibly having a guard or a swing offensive lineman and Penning in there that can be serviceable, because I think that's what he was this year, was mostly serviceable. He's definitely a bust compared to where we draft him. But again, at this point, it's irrelevant. You've already cooked that goose. Which trying to do now is going, can he help you in any way, shape, or form? And I put it to you this much. Put it to you this way. I guarantee you, compared to the right tackles that they've stuck him with the last 2 seasons, and he still won 2 Super Bowls, Patrick Mahomes would take Trevor Penning in a heartbeat over the schleps that makes him have to work harder, because they're not very good. So he would love to have a serviceable right tackle. He would love to have the 28th worst tackle or better in the league, because they keep saddling with like number 31, 32, 30, whatever. I think there's backup right tackles that have graded out better than the guys they keep sticking on his right side. So goes to show you in the NFL, one man's trash is another man's treasure. And he just pushes. If talking about Penning, I'm assuming, if you just get in there and push people around and not get pushed around himself. Um, Hard to say, because you know, again, think about the Vita Vea types. If he could hold his own against the Vita Vea, it's worth it. If he's getting pushed around like, oh my lord, that was embarrassing at times what he was doing to some of our interior offensive linemen in this game, then yeah, it's probably not going to help you that much. Amen to that. I just laugh that the Dirty Birds had to sit there and pull for us to win. And somebody showed the clip when they in the because they were playing at home, when they showed the score of the Saints in the first half when we were beating Tampa Bay, and the crowd erupts like they just won the Super Bowl. And I was like, my God, the day I'd see the Dirty Birds cheering for us like that, that was worth a smile, when ended up not working out for them. No, they cannot. Can no longer draft a Peyton Turner, no. A Foskey, no. A Penning, no. Kendre Miller, no. Um, to go best available, and I think at that top spot, yeah, I think you're right, because um, on paper, the one spot there's going to be some possible talent there would have been that we wouldn't have wanted to grab, was wide receiver. But coming off our top 2 guys, both off of injury, I don't know. I can't think of the big fast kid from Arizona. Um, Drawing a blank on his name. Who's it looks like they're all saying he's the top receiver, and I doubt seriously if he'd make it that far down, but he might be a guy. Well, you might want to take him anyway, because he's probably best available. But like Luther Burton, who I like a lot, I'm going, if you get Olave back healthy and right, and keep getting quarterbacks throwing balls that get him concussed, we'll be okay there. And hopefully Shaheed comes back from the injury. You got those 2 guys for another year or so. But looking at tackles, like I said, tackles, interior linemen that are floating around there. Question is a cornerback. There's one or two cornerbacks that so far are grading out up there at the top 10 or high teens. Do you grab one of those guys and then say defensively, well, we've again a rookie and a second year guy locking down our two outside corner positions. Taylor goes back to the inside or safety if that's going to be the future for him. At least make our secondary better and more viable and legitimate NFL base. Yeah, they did. Um, it's one of those like they tried to do they talked about this a lot in my earlier videos, the soft reset. See, and that's where I was 100% wrong because I thought we were closer than we were, and we were not. But what they tried to do this, if they'd have tried to do that 2 or 3 years ago, and no later than 2 years ago, but more importantly, been honest with themselves about what they really had and what they needed to do, I think you could have been in a position in a one year turnaround or 2 years at the worst, but you just kicked the can down the road in more ways than one than just the salary cap. I'll take your word for it, but that seems mighty low. But it doesn't matter. He's a rookie, so he's uh he's slotted in whatever they're doing with him. And he's not going anywhere anyway. I remember Kyle Turley ripping off a guy's face mask and throwing it damn near in the stands. Yeah, there was many of crazy tough guys. Hell, Conrad Dobler from way back in the day. I can barely remember him, but I remember some of the stories about some of the crap he used to do in there. That's your guy, not mine. Uh, I don't really need to explain my point of view. I've made it quite plain. You've made yours quite plain, and I disagree with you wholeheartedly, Northern. Nothing personal, but I think you're wrong. Provided they stay healthy, fine. Um, it, but again, the two receivers we had, I was perfectly fine with operating in this offense. They both got hurt, along with a whole bunch of look. It's really hard to grade anything on our offense right now, and I really want to, but and there are times that where they've kind of overcame difficulty, so it's really hard to say, well, it's all about the injuries, but you have to acknowledge all the injuries that happen for sure. There's times they've done things really, really well from like a coaching, game planning, play calling aspect. And then last 2 weeks, you saw a lot of the good things in the first half and a lot of not so good things in the second half in those categories. And still think that may be tied into the injuries and the lack of we don't always have people integrated into the offense fully. We script plays, we can only do so much during the week on the field, and that's straight NFL time wise, which you can and can't do during the course of a given week. Um, so we just kind of run through that real quick or in the first half or whatever, and then just kind of piecing it together in the second half. The other thing I'll say that this is the second time Rattlers come in. He did it the end of the Washington game, obviously. He did it at the end of the first half, and he was on his way to doing it at the end of the second half, but run an efficient 2-minute drill to go down the field and get points on the board. And he was 3 for 3 in his first three throws, 30 something yards, and then went 0 for 4 after that. And it was one of those things you're like, well, look, if he can keep running efficient 2-minute offense, that's something you can build on. Now he had a drop in there on a ball that should have been caught, and I think it was because it was tipped first and maybe not the best throw to begin with. But all of a sudden, the throws weren't like they were for the first three, even on that drive, kind of stalled out, and then that was that. We turned the ball over and down. So it's hard to grade him. It really, really is. And I think that's coming in with the front office and ownership going, it's almost like they're grading it on an incomplete. I don't know about that, but That's what it feels like. And going, it's just so to answer that question, put Thomas or Neighbors on this team, and maybe to improve somewhat as long as they stay healthy. God knows Neighbors had worse quarterbacks to deal with this whole year than any of our receivers did. So possible. And hell, Trevor Lawrence, I know looked awful beginning of the year. Thought there was a stretch where he started to look good, and I think he started looking awful. Then he got hurt, and then they were all on backup quarterbacks. So yeah, maybe Brian Thomas Jr. could have weaved it together with our not as good quarterback situation. Um, yeah, it looked like Foskey grabbed his arm as he ran by or bumped him or something. I don't know. I don't think that goes down to any meaningful stat in Foskey's, but at least he was like, yeah, clear as day. They showed the replay and it was like 55, and I'm like, woohoo, Foskey sighting. But again, we brother and I looked hard at him last week. He right in front of us taking snaps at left defensive end. And it was just a lot of going backwards. Those couple of plays he had there, it was hard not to notice because it was literally in our face going, God, that's our second round pick in his second year. Never said we don't need a tight end. I don't know where you get that from. You like to make stuff up. What you want is an all world Travis Kelce, George Kittle's tight end, which I would too. Who wouldn't? They don't grow on trees. You just can't find them. And they're like elite quarterbacks and not so much elite receivers. You got good receivers out there, but you get my point. But what I always had issue is because they aren't those guys, the two that we had, you think they're terrible. And I again disagree with you wholeheartedly on that and think you're wrong. Are there better tight ends? Yes. Are there some in this draft? Absolutely. Would I like getting one? Certainly. But there could have been worse tight ends in the league that wound up on our roster where you'd have been they suck. I'd have been like, yeah, they do. Teaser. Well, I'll merch. I extended it, and I didn't do it. They threw me another little bonus thing where I could do it. Um, but through next Sunday, any item, buy one item, you get the second item off, 25% off. Happens audit. You don't even need a code. Happens at checkout. So before you accept, make sure it shows up there that your second item is 25% off. Um, and I will throw up in a second because I'm in the wrong. I've got one more comment here, and I'll throw up the link on the screen. Um, Rattler right now, I feel confident in grading him in this much. Think he's fine as a backup quarterback. As one of those guys that I think he's going to come in and give you a chance if you need him to. And now, not necessarily saying today, but as he develops, I think that's his floor. But you see flashes of him where you see a little more at times. You see some incredible throws he makes. Um, you see some really good decisions he makes at times. Move around back there. He's mobile. Um, I like to see him make quicker decisions. Hopefully that'll come. But to where his ceiling is, the floor is he's a viable backup guy, and it doesn't happen often, but every now and then you do get those quarterbacks that come out and get a couple um, seasons as NFL starters coming out of the backup role. I don't know if there's any really that have went pow, but they almost like the caretaker guys of an offense and a team until you get the quarterback that is a pow that take their place. So I feel like he's going to be at least that. Can he develop into more? It's possible. Um, and I think if you're going to commit to him, you got to commit to him. He's, i.e., if he's going to be your backup, if they bring Core back and Rattler's the backup, Rattler's the backup. Rattler takes all number 2 snaps and any number 1 snaps that Carr ain't taking and try to develop him. If you're not bringing Carr back because you think Rattler's the guy, you have to give him a year of okay, you're the guy. You're taking all the 1 snaps. You're doing all the work that a 1 is supposed to do. So he had an impact today. 6 catches on 7 targets. He was the leading receiver. Um, 2 years ago, his numbers were basically of a top 5, top 6 tight end in the league. Like I have to tell you, one thing I could change about the season. What would that be? That it all the bullshit that your buddy Mickey was telling us was going to work, and we'd have won a division. We'd be a 13, 14 win team or whatever he was thinking with the you know Super Bowl winning quarterback sitting there just waiting to roll us through the playoffs. I'd basically I'd magically make Mickey right, so all that could come to fruition. So, well, but unfortunately, I don't have that power. So, real quick, that's the link to the in the address for the merch shop, like Northern brought up. So, buy one, get 25% off the second item of everything in the shop. Automatic. So just when you're checking out, it'll apply it automatically. And I believe you can do it up to 5 times if I remember right. Um, so yeah, get your Who Dat merchandise. Shirt comes from there also. So help me out. That is the best way to help my channel. The other way to help out the channel is the old like, share, subscribe, drop some comments. Good. You had a lot of questions in the chat, kept me talking for almost an hour and 20 minutes. Um, so I appreciate that. Appreciate everybody showing up, even at as relatively shorter notice instead of our normal start time at 8:30 Central. Have some videos in the works. I will be dropping them this week. You can pretty much guarantee what they're all going to be about, and it's kind of this. All right, how's this 2025 season shaking out? I'm going to wait a little bit to see what happens on Black Sunday. It's apparently Mayo got fired while we were talking. Hell, I don't know. Maybe 3 more guys got fired. But I think they're going to drop like dominoes tomorrow, and you'll start seeing, well, you've already started seeing at least some of the coaches visiting the Jets, who don't currently have a job right now that are in the playoffs. So more of that's going to start, and then we're going to just have to play the big wait and see game. It, again, Mickey, so far bringing up guys that, you know, Glenn Nagy, they're both looking to be in the playoffs for a while, so it's to be a while before he can talk to them. So I don't. I would keep a sharp eye on who the Saints do bring in during this period, just out of curiosity. See what Mickey's thinking about who's comfortable for him. I have a feeling if they haven't done it already and nobody's picked up on it yet, I have a feeling that John Gruden may have been one of them. So and just leave it at that. We'll see. We'll see again how it all shakes out, and I uh, think once the coaching decision comes in and once the assistants are all in place and see if any type of front office shakeup happens, even if it isn't Mickey, look, Mickey, there's guys in there that aren't doing, or I shouldn't say guys and gals that are up there that obviously aren't doing their job. You need to root them out and hire people to root them in. Northern, I'm agree with you on this one when you said it in the comments. Need better scouting and better drafting. Because if you don't fix those 2 problems, and the rest of this is just it's going to be the same old, same old. So thank everybody for coming. We're going to have a kind of a long off season compared to last off season because and especially from y'all comments that I'm hearing right now that they're just in the hope and the optimism that we kind of had, especially when we had the big offensive hire with all the assistants coming in. We're finally going to fix our offense to go with our defense. Now this year we still don't know what we have on offense, and we need to fix our defense. But as we get through this offseason, let's go ahead and find the sparks and the hope where we can. And we're just going to have to be honest about what the blemishes are and keep an eye on what the organization is going to do to fix them. That's just about where we are right now. And then come April when the draft hits, I have a feeling that may be where our ultimate hope is. Maybe we get those one or two players where we can look at it and go, yeah, they got it right. We know they got it right. And now we can start the rebuild around at least two pieces that we know can play football. So I want to thank y'all for joining me tonight. Again, the like, share, subscribe. I know all of us content creators on YouTube throw that at you an awful lot, but it feeds the algorithm. It makes it happy. And when the algorithm is happy, great things happen. So we couldn't do it on the field this year, Saints. Let's see if we can do it in the community right now. So we'll be, like I said, popping some videos down this week. Next Sunday night, we're going to go ahead and have another live stream. Don't know what we're going to talk about, but I suspect some stuff is going to start happening during the week that's going to bring up topics of conversation, and we'll cover it then. So I'll see you next time. I'm Tim. Peace out, and who dat?